Hello, everybody out there. This is Chanel, and this is my presentation. This is my presentation for Miss Matson's class, English 1B. And today we're going to focus on what I learned through this semester. The stories that really impact me, of course, were the three stories that we focused on in class. The first one was Mulan. We had a series of stories, but Mulan really influenced me. Also, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and lastly, V and Vendetta. Now, all these stories, they had a tremendous meaning, and they were really impactful to me because what they really taught me was society could be misleading, and underneath what the surface is a whole different person, and not only is it a whole different person, but what that other person is, they can bring tremendous success to society. So basically, don't let society repress how you feel. You have to be your own person and let it shine throughout the world, and you can impact society. So I'm going to take that with me in my current life and in my future, because I'm not going to set limits or barriers for myself. And Mulan's story really did influenced me, especially because I used a lot of feminist perspective with Mulan. We all know how Mulan was an outcast of society and how she didn't really become her true self until she was a man, because Mulan had masculine characteristics such as leadership skills, outspokenness, and just being rebellious. She didn't bring her family honor with these ideas until she became a guy. And not only did she bring her family honor when she became a man, but she also became more acceptable within herself. She felt like she was acceptable. She felt like, okay, I do have a placement in society. It may not be traditional, but it's actually something, in my opinion, better, because it was her own mark on the world. She left her own individual mark on the world. And that's what I strive to do. I strive, not saying I'm going to break society's barriers, but I'm not going to let any position dictate how I am. I'm going to try and give my first. I'm going to try and put my best. I'm going to use my characteristics that I have to influence people, and hopefully people could follow my lead and set by example. Mulan also did a lot of leadership skills. She did a lot for women. You know, she taught that not all warriors are men, and we saw that in all three of Mulans. We saw the Mulan where she was a great warrior and how she was going to battle with her baby. We saw how she, on the silent film, how she was quiet and she was more mature. And we also saw in the Disney movie how Mulan had to become this great warrior. But it also shows that you don't have to limit yourself because you're a woman. And that's what I'm learning through most of these stories through all the stories that we read, is don't set limits for yourself. Whether you're a woman or whether society tells you that you can't do it. Second, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. In Dr. and Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, we learn a lot about the Victorian society and how they look at people by their physical traits, and they put them in categories. So if you were tall, you were considered, handsome, wealthy, and rich. We learned about de-evolution, and we also learned about misleading mask. We learned about how people could be dual-minded, and that's what Dr. Jekyll was all about. He was all about using science to separate our darker side, which everyone has. So what I learned about that is, don't repress your emotions too much, basically. Don't repress it, because I feel like if you repress your emotions so much, it kind of it creates a monster, because you're not free. You're not free to live, and that's what life is all about. Life is all about experience. So if you're letting society dictate all these things that you feel, you're going to feel caged. And I feel like it's kind of like a snowball effect. Once it goes downhill, it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I feel like Dr. Jekyll probably wasn't that bad of a guy. Like, I know Hyde was a monster, but I felt if he let himself loose in moderation, that he wouldn't have been such a crazy guy. He wouldn't go to far extremes such as rape and just, just being over sexual and possessive and things like that. So basically, I feel like people should just have a healthy outtake of who they are. I don't feel like people should have perfectionist ideas of themselves, because if you look at people as being perfect, you are going to be disappointed. People are not perfect. People are human beings. Parents, friends, we're all flawed. So I feel like a healthy balance of moderation is key to creating an evil disaster such as Hyde. And so again, that goes to how I feel about letting society dictate your life. Don't be in a Victorian society. Don't be in that repressed, phony, fake front. Don't be that person, because it's not healthy. We're not meant to be like that. So I feel like, again, you got to be your own person. I'm not saying going around killing people, but, just have fun here and there. What's wrong with going out on the weekends? It's all about balance. So that's how I feel about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and how I'm going to apply that with my life is I'm definitely going to have a healthy balance of moderation. I'm not going to be what society wants me to be and just be this perfect person who's known for having a perfect reputation, but really I'm dying on the inside and I have all these secret desires. I'm not going to let society do that to me. Lastly, the story that we read was a really fun story to read. It was V for Vendetta. Now, V for Vendetta was very dark. It also taught me a lot about intertextile, because I saw a lot of it with the concentration camps, how it reminded me of Nazi Germany or, the Holocaust, and a lot of, V being the darker hero like Batman. People don't consider him a hero, but I look at him as a hero, because even though he's seeking revenge, which is a bad thing, I feel that the North Star is, I look at them as the bad guys. I look at them, they're not out to make happiness. They're bullying people. They're definitely fascist, just a negative fascist government. So, the fact that V's seeking revenge on the bad guys, that to me is the classic cliche hero versus bad guys. Again, intertextile of Batman. So, again, he's not being a victim to society. He's not. He escaped the concentration camp, and, he dressed up in satire with the mask, and that look that he has going on created history. So again, with Mulan, creating history, just breaking society's barriers and using your method to leave a mark on the world, like just being leaders, like V just having the mask, that also ties in with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, misleading social roles, or just how the government is low-key corrupt underneath that mask. But I like how he's the darker hero, and he's, seeking revenge, even though that's not heroic at all. If you look at what they're doing something negative. So he's stopping them. Someone has to put a stop to it. But yeah, basically this all concludes to how I feel about just breaking barriers of society. Like, whether you're an outcast, or somebody who just has many talents, I just feel like you should just shine in the world. You shouldn't just let society tell you what to do, because not only you're not being true to yourself, which can cause repressed emotions that we learned in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but also you have a lot to offer people. You could change the world. You could make history. So why would you stop yourself from making history? Things change. We live in a society where things are constantly changing and we're constantly evolving. So I feel like everyone has something to bring to the table, and that's what I'm definitely taking with me. These stories are teaching me to be a leader, to not repress, my different personalities. Not saying I'm crazy or anything, but definitely have an equal balance to where, I have a healthy ego. I just have a healthy persona, and to, just create my own success, just leave my own mark on the world. It's kind of a different perspective, but that's what I take with me. That's what I'm going to take with me. I hope you guys like my presentation. Trying to make it over 6 minutes. You guys are an awesome crowd. It was awesome reading stories and associating with you guys. You guys are real fun. All right, well, take care.